People pleasing is not often the problem, and I can't stop saying this enough. People pleasing is usually the symptom of a deeper problem. A lot of times we're solving for the branches, but if we don't in fact put the axe to the root, it will recur some way, somehow. If you've been thinking about how to overcome your people pleasing tendencies, this video will first of all open your eyes to see the root cause of your people pleasing tendencies and why you behave that way. And then it will then equip you with the thinking and the tools and the resources that can help you overcome your people pleasing tendencies. If that's something that interests you or that will be of value to you, then you're in luck, because we're going to get into it right away. All right. So from my experience, I've found that people pleasing is usually fueled by a deeper cause. And that deeper cause is a desire to be liked, accepted, and validated. Either one or two or all three of them are usually present in people who have people pleasing tendencies. And so in order to really solve the problem long term and prevent it from recurring, there are a few things I'll be sharing with you. These are unconventional approaches, but these are things that are tried and true. I have used it in my approach as a life coach to help people overcome people-pleasing tendencies, and they have seen results for themselves. So I want to equip you with those thinking and those tools as well. Let's get into it. The first is go on a deeper relationship with God. Listen, before you click off and think that this is cliche, I'm just saying this because, I just want to talk about God all the time. I'm going to find an excuse to talk about God all the time. That whilst that might be partially true, hear me out first. The root of people pleasing is a desire to be liked. And I've found that for a lot of people, there's usually some history of brokenness or trauma in their past or in their childhood where they had an absent father, an absent mother, parents who were in toxic relationships, they were exposed to one form of abuse or the other, or were surrounded by an environment that didn't foster love. And so they grew up with this void, this desire to have themselves affirmed, or this desire to be loved in a way that their father couldn't, or their mother couldn't, or their siblings or relatives or the people around them couldn't. And so people pleasing oftentimes is fueled by some level of trauma that is trying to find temporary comfort and solace in the validation of people. But you heard the operating word, it is only temporary. Even if you get everyone to like you, it will only be temporary. It still will not fix the problem. I know you think getting everyone to like you will solve all your problems, but it will not solve all your problems. You have so many people liking you, but you still find that there's still that emptiness on your inside, which is why your relationship with the Lord is the first step. This is because growing your relationship with the Lord and getting into the word of the Lord and communing with God as your Father can help fix those broken places that, only God can fix. The more you grow in your relationship with the Lord, the more you start to understand your identity, that you already had an identity, you were already loved before you were even formed in your mother's womb. These things can just sound like cliches, but you actually need to give it a try. Go deeper in your walk with God. Embrace God as your Father. Embrace God as that friend that you never had, as that mother that you never had. Embrace your relationship with the Lord as that safe space, that stable space that you never had as a child growing up, or even in adulthood, something that you've never experienced before. Because sometimes we have present parents who just don't know how to love us well. We have present parents who don't know how to validate or affirm us well. And regardless of the fact that your parents are alive and present, you may still have that void and may still look to others or your relationship with others to fill it. So I challenge you to go on a relationship with the Lord. Read the Bible. Find out who you were and who the Lord has called you from even before the fall, from even before the foundations of the earth were formed, because those are timeless, immovable truths that you should embrace very closely. So if you're someone that struggles with people-pleasing tendencies, channel that energy back to the Lord and allow Him to fill that void. Allow Him to come into those broken places and administer healing to you so that you can be free from the bondage of wanting to be liked by people once and for all. Number two is go on a healing journey. Listen, my friends, this is extremely important. You can either go on this healing journey personally, or you can walk with a therapist, a coach, a counselor, or all three. The reason why this is important is because, like I mentioned earlier, sometimes people pleasing is rooted in other deep seated issues like childhood trauma and past negative experiences. Some of us found that we grew up in homes where there was sibling rivalry, for instance, and so maybe your parents preferred one sibling to the other, would always shout praises on one sibling at the expense of the others, or worse still, would always compare your strengths to, or compare your weaknesses to the strengths of your siblings, sort of in a way that makes you feel small and makes you feel, downplayed and downgraded, only to exalt the other person. This can trigger people pleasing tendency in you because you now want to prove yourself. You now want to prove a point. You now want to be approved of by everyone. You find yourself doing things that you ordinarily should not do. You find yourself saying yes when you normally should say no, just because you want to be liked. Or maybe you had insecurities as a child that no one ever addressed. Maybe you were exposed to bullying as a child, or you were made jest of, you were just that kid that was different. Maybe academically you were not too sound, or you were just a different kid, you operated differently. And because of that, you were exposed to bullying or to gestury or to marks by people, by your mates and others. And you find that that breaks something in you, that triggers a soul wound in you, which you then grow up with and you carry about, and then you start to, look endlessly for that validation that you didn't have as a child. I'm sure you think I've made a lot of reference to childhood trauma, but I find that as adults, many of the emotional and mental problems that we face really begun in childhood. It may not be the same for you, but it is for a lot of people. And so I like to sort of deep dive and go to the root of things to make sure that we're really addressing things from the source. So I encourage you to go on a healing journey, regardless of what your situation is. Absentee father, absentee mother, daddy issues, mommy issues, you just never had a good relationship with your siblings, or maybe you didn't grow up in a loving, stable environment. Maybe whatever it is that happened to you, I want you to first of all be able to connect your people pleasing tendencies to some incidences or a series of incidences that have happened in your life. Knowing that level of detail and truth will set you free and put you on the path of healing. Like I said, I don't want you to flay at the branches. I want you to sit with yourself, reflect, go on a deep dive, think really deeply, if as far as you can remember, back to your childhood or even past experiences as a teenager or as an adult, some of the things that happened to you that have scarred you, that have set a desire to you, or a desire in you, excuse me, to prove a point or want to be liked or approved of by everyone. And you find yourself doing unthinkable things just to get that approval. It's important to go on that healing journey. Sometimes what we find when we go on this self-reflection journey can be too much and overwhelming. This is the reason why I've said it's a journey that you can go on personally, but it's a journey that I also encourage you to go on with a coach, a therapist, a counselor, or all three of them, so that you can have all the support and the hand holding you need, and most importantly, so that you can get to the root of the problem and solve it once and for all. All right, the third step or tip that I will share with you today that can help you with your people pleasing tendencies is, are you ready for it? It doesn't sound like it, but this is very important. Get clear on your purpose. Goodness gracious. Go on that soul search and discover why you're here on earth. And you might be wondering what connection this has to people pleasing tendencies. I'll share with you in a minute. Have you ever heard of the saying, when you don't stand for something, you can fall for anything? It's very true. When you get clear on your purpose, in a sense, it becomes a boundary that ring fences your life, that helps you get clear on your path and it helps you stay on that path. When people make requests of you, or people's situation or life puts you in a situation where you're tempted to compromise and just do things to make other people happy at the expense of yourself, a reminder of your purpose should set you back on track. Always measure every decision by your vision for your life, your goals, and the direction that your life is going. So when you want to do something just to please someone, but that thing is in fact an inconvenience that you shouldn't be accommodating. That thing is in fact a derailment from the path that you're supposed to be on. A reminder of your purpose and the vision that you have for your life should cause you to make that trade-off. Oftentimes we find it difficult to say no to people or to things because we don't know what we should be saying yes to. When we get clear on what we should be saying yes to, the no's become easy because you know exactly what you don't want, what you're not trying to achieve, and that trade-off becomes clear and easy to make. So get clear on your purpose and your identity. Know exactly where your life is going so that you start to know the things you should be saying no to and the things you should be saying yes to. You start to know the people you should be saying no to, the requests you should be saying no to, and the requests that you should be saying yes to. Always remember, purpose is a boundary, it's a ring fence. It is something that creates what is the word? It is something that creates that, it helps you stay in check. It's something that creates that check for you to constantly know what to be doing per time. All right, the fourth step is practice saying no. Get comfortable with saying no. The psychology of people pleasing is you never want people to be offended by you. You never want, someone to get angry that you refuse to take up a request or you refuse to do something for them. And so you say no. Oftentimes, I'm sorry, you say yes, oftentimes in exchange for your own happiness, in exchange for your own peace, in exchange for your own time. And so when you learn to say no, you become okay with saying no, you become okay with making trade-offs, you are in fact creating boundaries that will ensure, that you don't people please anymore, but that will also ensure that you are doing the right things at the right time. Practice saying no. You're not a bad person. Say no with me 5 times. No, 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 no. Now, of course, I'm being direct in this video, and sometimes you can say no to people without actually using the word no. So you can be more polite, more politically correct, more diplomatic in the way that you say no, but you get the broader point. Don't say yes or commit to something at the expense of yourself when you know you cannot handle it. Now, there is a difference between going the extra mile for the people you love and doing something nice for someone or going out of your way to make someone that you love happy. There is that, and that happens to a very healthy degree in most thriving relationships or most community contexts. That's very different from people pleasing. People pleasing is the next level. It's a point where regardless of how much it's going to cost you or the detriment it's going to bring to your life, you can't just bring yourself to say no. That's where the problem lies. So feel free to treat family and friends once in a while to requests that cause you to go out of your way. Feel free to do something nice for people that you care about once in a while, but also know where to draw the line. Also know when your own sanity, your mental health, your peace, and your stability is at stake, and know when to pull back. That's very important. All right, the fifth and the final step that I'll be sharing with you to overcome your people pleasing is understand your personality type and know why you act the way you do. If you've listened to a few of my videos on this YouTube channel, you know that I always talk about this. It's because from my experience, I've found it to be a very small but powerful tool in unlocking many things that we've questioned for so long. Honestly speaking, some personality types struggle more with saying no. That's just the truth. Sometimes it's not any deep-seated issue. Sometimes it's just the way you are wired. And so the people who are phlegmatics, and if you don't know about the 4 personality types, go check out Why You Act the Way You Do, which I recommend in almost every video, of every personal development video that I create on this channel. But essentially, the summary is there are 4 main personality types: choleric, phlegmatic, sanguine, and melancholy. Now, the phlegmatics are the more easygoing, don't want stress, don't like adventure, don't like change, just like life being on a flat line and being predictable. Those ones often struggle a little more with saying no than the cholerics. Type A's are strong-willed people, they have strong personality types and all that. Now, the essence of knowing your personality type is not to feel bad or to beat yourself up, but like I always say, is to know where you need support the most, and it's to know where you need to get help and accountability the most. Now remember, personality is both nature and nurture. I often say this. What that means is there is a way that you're naturally wired, that is your nature, but then there's also the part of you that you nurture. There's the work that you do to become a certain kind of person, which, is the nurturing part of you. Always remember that regardless of your personality type, you can nurture and cultivate a certain trait or tendency or character or habit or behavior in yourself. It's not impossible, which is why in the previous point I said practice saying no. It is a practice. The more you say, the more you get familiar and used to it, the more you get okay with saying no when you absolutely need to say no. So it's important to know your personality type. This will really help you know your personality type and know when it is limiting you. Know how best to support yourself. All right, the sixth step that I'll share with you is create healthy boundaries. Don't just allow anyone walk into your life and make any kind of request on you. Don't put yourself in positions where the lines are blurred and people are taking advantage of you because they know that you struggle with saying no, or because they think of you as the nice guy or nice girl who doesn't want to offend anyone and who will say yes, regardless of how it makes them feel. People often get this vibe. If you didn't know it now. People get this vibe from you, and the emotionally unintelligent ones will attempt to take advantage of that part of you, which is why the responsibility is on you to draw the line somewhere. Create boundaries in your life. People can't just walk into your life and take advantage of you and use you for their own advantage to your own disadvantage and dump you and move on to the next person. That is not okay at all. That is not allowed. So you've got to take charge and control of your life, of your time, and how you spend it by drawing boundaries, even with loved ones. And I dare say, especially with loved ones, because sometimes we have loved ones who are not that emotionally intelligent and they just keep taking and taking and taking. They can't tell when you're depleted. They can't tell when to take a break or when to stop to allow you to recharge. You just keep going and going and going, which is why boundaries very, very key. You're not a bad person by drawing boundaries. You are protecting yourself. And you need to protect yourself to continue to show up as your best self in the world. So don't feel guilty about it. Right, the last and the final step I will share, which is kind of similar to saying no, is practice pausing and taking time before making a decision. So a person comes and, they make a request of you, or someone wants you to do something for them and it's not convenient for you. Practice saying, can I get back to you later? It's not actually saying no, but it's giving you time to process your emotions, to access your calendar, to assess the current state that you are in life and to see whether you can accommodate that request or whether you can, do that thing for the person. So practice saying, can I get back to you later? Let me think about it and get back to you later. If you have a spouse, practice saying, can I speak to my spouse about it and get back to you later? The essence of this is to just break that cycle of pressure that they're trying to put on you to get you to say yes immediately and commit immediately. Break that cycle of pressure by saying, okay, I'm not going to give an immediate answer. I'm going to get back to you. I'll take some time to think about it and I'll come back to you about whether or not I'm up for it. By the time you create that pressure, you see that one of two things. They can either go on to ask other people, or they can realize that they don't need you necessarily to do it. They want you to do it, but they don't need you to do it. What that means is that there's someone else that can do it, or they can even do it themselves. They just wanted to push the button to see if you will fall for it. Sometimes it's not even happening at a conscious level. Like, people are not out to get you. They're not saying, oh, let me push this button and see if this guy will fall for it. Some people are, but some people are not. It's just happening at the subconscious level where they've associated you to be that guy or that girl who just won't say no and who will do everything that everyone asks. And so they keep, piling requests on you. But when you break that cycle, you give yourself time to reflect before making that decision. You also give them time to reflect as to whether it's actually something that you absolutely need to do or is something that someone else can do. All right, I hope you found the 7 steps helpful if you struggle with people pleasing. If you found this video helpful, feel free to like, share, comment, most importantly, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Subscribe to this YouTube channel because this channel is committed to equipping you with the knowledge, the wisdom, the thinking, and the tools that it takes to transform your life. My name is Regina Arubi, and thank you so much for hanging out with me. Before you go, share with me in the comment section below which of the points resonated with you the most. Which of them have you been practicing, and which of them are you going to start practicing soon? I love reading from you in the comments, so put it for me in the comment section below. Thank you so much, and until next time, bye bye.